What is Reboot? Reboot's
A scavenger hunt style game, but using mobile technology.
Interactive challenge with activities that actually gets groups of friends out doing things together instead of just chatting on Facebook or whatever.
You just compete in teams and try to teach sustainability.
It's a fun and engaging way to get people interested in sustainability.
Or gaming for good, where they're trying to get people involved in a game that impacts a real-world issue in some way.
It's a great way to get this awareness out to student body, staff, faculty, the community.
It takes sustainability, breaks it down into little chunks so that people can understand it.
a fun way to teach people that they can do little things that, when all added up, make a big difference and create a really healthier place for us to live.
I just happened into a Mizzou Advantage meeting one day with Peter Meng.
My involvement kind of stems from day one, where at a Mizzou Advantage event, Steve Burdick and I ran into each other and just started talking about sustainability. We had a natural conversation and kind of talked about ideas of how to engage students and find different ways of engaging students.
Somebody who was working on other types of games, told me that if you wanted to get college students involved in things that had to be fun, I'm pretty well convinced that peer-to-peer type education is really the only thing that sticks with people, so we wanted it to be something that people could learn from each other.
And I had been doing some research on gaming, and so he suggested that, maybe we take a look at a game and maybe use a game to teach students about sustainability issues.
Hey, we got all excited and started talking about it.
So we came up with this idea and we just kind of played with it a little bit, and then we filed for the grant.
And it was funded, and the rest is history.
Department of Information Technology has a annual grant program that they offer for different projects that engage students with technology. And when we heard about the grant, it sounded interesting because we really wanted this game to be about integrating technology and showing that technology can actually be used in a very positive way for sustainability. What we did was we put together a proposal, and they had an event where you had to essentially pitch your project. And it was a 5 to 7 minute, I think 7-minute presentation. We were kind of surprised when we received the entire grant amount, which actually turned out to be kind of a very fortuitous, in that is what really drove I think the success of this particular event and everything that's going along with it. It gave us the ability to get it started right. And then we also had to do a formal submission of a proposal with the exact dollars and how money was going to be spent exactly.
A lot of it's gone to managing the project, a lot of it's to marketing, and then a lot of it also is to prizes. So it's been kind of spread pretty evenly across the board to make sure this is successful.
A real important part to us too was that we would have, as part of this project, a full-time project manager, somebody who's literally getting paid to manage this and make sure that it works. And I think that using those funds for that has been a major contributor in the fact that this thing has been successful.
What's been interesting is the community's been very, very supportive. So there's been a lot of donations, whether in the form of money or gift cards or just time. So I think in the future, if this is when the processes and the systems are put in place, I think a lot of this can be sponsored because it's going to a great cause. I think as awareness builds and the structure of it's more solid, I think people will be more and more inclined to get involved or sponsor.
I ran into Hannah last summer.
He had seen me present for a different project, Access to Healthy Foods, that I managed and kind of am still managing through my public health internship.
So when this came about and we were looking for somebody who had experience in this space and who had proven management skills and was able to do that and manage the people and the projects and all those kinds of things, Hannah was the first person I thought of.
My job is to kind of like keep track of all the moving parts and keep them going in the right direction.
But you do need that hub with all the spokes connected, and she's kind of that hub. So.
The project manager did most of the work.
The key factor is having the project manager. You know, Hannah has been instrumental in making sure that the game continues successfully every week. She's puts in a lot of time, so I think that's something you need to consider. Project manager working full time, who's coordinating everything, and so that there's no confusion as to who's responsible for what. I think that's key. Yeah, I think she's a key player.
She's been the kind of the glue that's held the pieces together. And for anybody else that's considering doing a project like this, you do need to have a true project manager, somebody that can coordinate all the pieces, because there's a lot of details to the project.
I think that's the strength of Reboot, is the interdisciplinary nature of the game, and that it's not strictly a sustainability office sponsored game.
There must be at least 10 different departments involved in this particular project, at least 10 different departments involved.
We have people from communications and sustainability and journalism, IT, and students and staff, and everybody has just been more than available, more than ready, more than willing to do whatever it takes to make the game successful, and I think it's a real asset to our team.
Well, the other cool thing is that the majority of them are students, and that's what we really wanted, was that everybody was, you know, that it wasn't staff that was running this thing, it was students that were really running the entire thing.
It's been interesting because it requires so many different people from so many different perspectives. It's interesting for me to get out of my little box with sustainability and with student life and see these people who know all about technology and how it works and how to integrate social media and make all these things work together.
Everyone seems to be contributing their unique skill sets and their abilities to make this thing work. So.
And so having people in disciplines that know about things like stormwater and energy management, energy conservation, recycling, you need to have good content, you know, to develop something that's fun.
I think the hand-to-hand interaction with students was key.
The first week we did the Reboot beer floats at the dining halls, where students could come and get a free beer float and find out about Reboot and sign up. In the student center, for the week or two leading up to Reboot, we were there during the peak hours around lunch, and an hour or two before and after that. And we were there basically just to hand out flyers and to had laptops so people could sign up for Reboot.
I think it sounds like being in the student center, handing out flyers, I think having signage up, it's kind of interesting because for an online game, I think, I don't know what it means, but I think it's telling that really some of the 3D, like paper outreach that we've performed has been maybe the most effective.
They had a table in the student center, so I was walking by and they just like handed it to me and I was like, oh, this is cool.
I basically just started blanketing the Facebook ad space with as much with as many different types of ads as I could think of. There were ads that if, say, somebody liked Reboot and was involved with them, but their friends weren't, anything that Reboot did would show up in their friends' feeds. People that were involved with Reboot some of them have fairly good connections around town with different businesses. I think also a key aspect was approaching businesses who were already mindful of sustainability and those kind of things, and they were more interested in helping out than other companies who weren't. In fact, I think most businesses really are to some degree have a sustainable mindset nowadays in a way, but some of them are more actively pursuing those endeavors than others, and they were some that were not only willing to participate, but were excited about it. That's who we focused on. Those are the ones that we got to help.
What we found is that in general, the community was really willing to work with us, and people were really excited about what Reboot stood for.
We had several organizations say, this would be great if you'd come to us a couple months ago when we were doing our marketing budgets and those kinds of things, and we could have worked with you on that.
Like here in town, we've got several big insurance groups and things like that, and they're always looking for ways to, good PR and sustainability. Whether you like it or not, right now that's good PR, and that's one of the aspects we explored. And getting some big sponsorships like that would definitely be a possibility, I think.
I think the community is really, really interested in both participating and in sponsoring as well. When we shared the idea initially with a lot of community folks, I know I was at a couple of meetings where we were sharing the idea, and folks were like, my church group would love this. My Boy Scout group or my Cub Scout group or Girl Scouts, would love to play in this kind of game. And if you can engage your community 3-4 months out before you start the event, I think you'd have tremendous community engagement. It's just a matter of starting that conversation and getting those people engaged earlier. If you can engage your community 3-4 months out before you start the event, I think you'd have tremendous community engagement.
So if we had more time, we would have advertised to the city as a whole and also utilized some of the local sponsors to get more of the students in.
We have environmental themes that we work with in our office, and I think Steve drew from those themes, and in order to get the environmental awareness aspect of it solidified and out there for the players and the game as a whole.
We were looking for topics, and when we went through all the topics, we had this natural list of 10 subjects, and we said, well, a subject a week shouldn't be too bad.
I liked the week where there was like the compost. You had to visit the compost sites. There was the $100 challenge at the end of that one where we had the video. I liked that week. I liked the
Mostly we've been using scavenger to make all the game challenges or missions or whatever you want to say. And so just kind of coming up with ways to put either QR codes out or get a secret password here, or find fun places for people to take photos doing interesting stuff.
I think a lot of the ones that had QR codes where you had to go to that location, there were places that I'd never even heard of before, and then we had to go and get a QR code there. So that was really cool, just to learn about all the things on campus that are things I never, like stormwater drains. I never think about those as a sustainability thing, but since I had to do it, it was a good way to learn about it.
The length was a little long, but and do it over again, we'd probably shorten it. But overall, I think it gave us the ability to learn everything that we need to learn so that we can do it next time much better. Our goal was entertainment and engagement, so we thought 10 weeks. The reality is, 4 to 6 weeks would probably be a lot better.
If we do it again, the challenges will be more complex and we'll have more things done up front.
There was also a platform called Scavenger that had been around for a couple of years, and a lot of schools had used for a lot of different projects, but much smaller. We're one of the most ambitious projects that has ever used the Scavenger platform, and it's worked out okay.
The rebootmizzou.com that was mostly responsible for telling people about the game, getting people interested in it.
I really like the leaderboards that we pulled off. I really like how you can go up there, you can see all the challenges. It updates whenever we run our scripts to repopulate it, and it all links back to social life network or scavenger. So you click on it and it takes you to the person's page you're looking at, or the
And
team.
what I did was the leaderboard that we actually made ourselves from scratch, and that really just, it took all the information that Scavenger gave us and some stuff from the community side also, and just tied it all together. What we did was we drew it out on paper what would be the best setup for how the leaderboard could look, and we came up with like how it is right now, where you can, like, you see the team and the points, and you can click on the team and then it'll show all the challenges they've completed, their total points, and also all the people on their team. That if we did build our own thing, then we could set it up to automatically, anytime anyone does a challenge, update the leaderboard.
I think with what we were wanting to do, it would have been more flexible if we could have built it from scratch.
There's what's called augmented reality capabilities, and we actually had talked to some student organizations that had those capabilities, but they did not implement well with both Scavenger, and their projects weren't quite as mature as they originally let on.
We had lots of cool ideas for like fancier games, taking more advantage of technology. So we've done a really good job of tying together all our separate applications and hopefully making it a seamless experience for the users.
One of the initial things that we wanted to do was to have what we call a story arc, something that holds the whole thing together.
There's kind of a storyline that we're following, but it's kind of open to development as we go as well. A script is written each week.
And so what we wanted to do is project what if we made the right choices, what would happen? And you know, what would that world look like? And so the best way we thought to communicate that would be to speak with somebody that lived at that time when the world is actually a better place, where technology was used to make things look better, you know, healthier, cleaner. You know, we were not having the negative impact on nature that we may be having now.
So yeah, we write the scripts, we do the filmings on Wednesdays with the green screen, and that usually doesn't take too long. The scripts are pretty short. This last week they were just 2 minutes.
I need your help. My research indicates that Reboot may have been influenced by human actions at approximately the same time of its occurrence, more than 100 years ago. This conclusion seems inevitable.
Capture the ones that you needed the code in, and since they put it it's like a word on the screen, and where I work we don't have speakers, so I didn't even listen to it. I just watched it for the word, and they put it in Scavenger, and that was it. I was done with it.
To do it all over again, we would change a few things, just make it more interactive. We really struggled with finding the right writer at the beginning of the event, and I think if we had you know, had spent some time really writing the story very carefully at the beginning, and it would have probably worked a little bit more energetically, and it would have been a little bit more engaging.
I think the main thing for me has been the timeline and just how short it's been and how fast we've had to put everything in place.
You know, one of the things that happened was that it was really a lot of work. There was a lot of development. There was a lot of computer software kind of development. There was getting the games together. We probably needed more time to develop it.
So that's like not enough time at all to develop anything like tech-wise.
And I think, like everyone has probably said, it's going to take a lot more time.
In a perfect world, everything would have been done, including the website, in December, and then we would have had 2 months to market it. But instead, we had 2 months to build it and then market it.
At the same time, I think you could get a lot bigger if it had, you know, the appropriate space and time dedicated to the game before it was online, essentially.
We had a limited time to really get going from the time that the grant was awarded to the time that we needed to start the game, so there wasn't enough roll-up time. So what, you know, if other schools are considering it, use that first semester to plan, to get things ready, get things going, start marketing, and then use the second semester for implementation.
If this competition goes on in Mizzou next year, I'd like to start working on it in summer.
Okay.
I'd like June to get started working on it.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so almost a year. Okay. A little under a year to work on it would be ideal.
We started talking to the right people, but we started talking to them too late, where if you're working in a community cycle, you got to get into their calendar pretty early because everybody plans everything out roughly 3 to 6 months ahead of time. So if you want to engage the community, you really need to start earlier. And then identify who the real connectors are. That's what you really need. You need not only people who can make stuff happen, but people who can share the message and who find it interesting and fascinating and who are willing to really share it. We'll implement some of the things that worked well this year, and they'll work even better next year, and then some of the things that we were just trying out that seemed like they might work, I think next year we'll find out they'll be fully engaged. And then some of the cool things that we're going to try next year won't work, but other things will.
When I first heard about this, I saw so many barriers to it and thought that it would never take off and go. And I was really surprised and impressed when it actually worked.
The awareness that we created internally this year and reaching out to the community, both from a sponsorship and perspective and a participatory perspective, will definitely create that awareness next year. The cool thing is it has an easy to remember name. It's unique. So if you came next year and said, hey, we're doing Reboot again this year, I think you'll see eyes light up and people say, hey, that was pretty cool. We kind of watched what was going on. We saw what was happening on KOMU and on Sarah Hill's show and those kinds of things, and what was going on Twitter, and we'd like to participate. So I think community involvement next year will be surprisingly simple. If you're going into the spring semester, use that fall semester for planning, for putting together the teams, for creating the global message and putting all the pieces together for the message. I think that would be ideal. And the other thing is to really engage freshmen too the first year, to engage freshmen so that they look for it on the following 3 years, and by then it really starts happening. So I think it'd be a fun way to engage freshmen as well. They say that it takes roughly 5 years to establish a tradition kind of event. A great case in point is Roots and Blues Festival here in town. It's been 5 years now. Everybody expects it, and they understand what they're going to get, and it's a great event. And we'd like to see Reboot be a part of that as well. Same kind of deal.
I'm thankful to be a part of it, and I think it's a great thing, and I'd like to see this thing explode into the world.
Give a hoot, don't pollute, join Reboot.